So yeah, Jim is, of course, you're all aware, our BSBI Scottish Officer, and he's going to be talking to us about BSBI recording projects. So I'm delighted to hand over to Jim.
Thank you, Sarah. This photograph is one of my favourites from last year. It's taken whilst recording Arctic alpines and remote mountains in Glenafric. It's an absolutely stunning photograph. But the talk is mainly about the BSBI recording projects. I say mainly because my colleagues have asked me to include 2 additional sequences of slides, very short sequences on 2 other topics. So I'm going to talk about Atlas 2020. I'm going to give you a quick update on that. I'm going to talk about the National Plant Monitoring Scheme. I'm going to cover the 3 post-Atlas projects, and I'm going to finish up with those additional topics: BSBI heat maps and county pages. Okay. So the project, which has preoccupied us all for the past 20 years, continues to preoccupy my colleagues Kevin Walker, BSBI's head of science, and Pete Straw, the scientific officer, right now. I did ask Pete if he would give a talk. I said, given the amount of time and effort recorders have put into this project, shouldn't we be getting a talk from you on this subject? And he said, well, it's exactly because of that reason I need to stay focused to make sure we deliver the best possible Atlas outputs. So here I am giving a talk on Atlas 2020. We've got some great news, actually. Princeton University Press have offered to publish the Atlas book. They have an excellent track record in producing high quality natural history publications, and they'll organise the design, printing, distribution, postage, as well as the publicity around the Atlas. There will be a pre-pub discount of 50% for BSBI members, and a continuing discount of 30% after its publication. Currently, we are writing introductory chapters, and 4 proofreaders have been volunteered, or have volunteered, not quite sure which it is, to check all the text before publication. Also later this year, the summary report that distills the results of all your hard work into key messages will be written. There'll be 1 report for Ireland and 1 report for Great Britain. And there's probably going to be 2 or 3 pages for each of the component nations of Britain, for England, Wales and Scotland, all in roughly the same format. But meantime, I can give you a sneak preview of what the online Atlas might look like. This is thanks to the excellent work of the UK Centre for Ecology and Hydrology, in particular, Rich Burkmar. He's done a fantastic job in producing the online Atlas for 2020. So this is the basic 10-kilometre distribution map for BORCID. So this all looks rather familiar. The new features here is that there are different backdrop maps. You can have a plain white one, but you can also have colour or black and white elevations. And you can alter whether the Northern and Channel Isles are inset or not. So that looks pretty similar to what we have seen before. But this is a complete change maps. And this map shows change in distribution for BORCID between the 30 to 69 date class compared with the date class just gone. Gains are shown in red up arrows, losses black down arrows, and where there's been no change is depicted in pink what's interesting about this map is that you can see the northward extension of the range of bee orchid in England, and how it's jumped the southern uplands and is now starting to colonise in central Scotland. And because we recorded at 2 kilometre resolution or better, we can now show tetrad frequency maps. And this is really interesting because it adds a new dimension to our distribution maps. Not only can you see the extent, there's some indication also of the frequency. Quite an innovation. And you can zoom right in and see those tetrad distribution maps at very fine resolution. Okay, a quick final update on the captions that you can see here. All the native vascular plant captions have been drafted, and we're currently working on finalising the text. Alien captions are pretty well complete. Hybrid captions have been written with text, mostly from the hybrid flora accounts. And this atlas is going to include stoneworts, or honorary non-vascular plants, for the very first time. And currently, Nick Stewart is writing captions for them. And last slide on Atlas, many tens of thousands of photographs have been generously distributed by Rob Still at Wild Guides and will be included in the online Atlas web pages. And this image here is just one of 20 for York. So a huge thanks to everyone who contributed data to the project, who helped with its digitization, validation, verification, and thank you all for your patience while the project has been finalized. There's going to be a short article on the Atlas 2020 progress in April's BSBI News. Watch out for that. Now Atlas is over, the National Plant Monitoring Scheme is really our main UK national project. UK obviously including Northern Ireland. So the idea is you adopt a 1 by 1 kilometre square. You record the abundance of habitat indicator species in fixed plots, quadrats. There's usually about 5 of those per 1 kilometre square. You repeat the methodology twice in a year. And these records help to guide policymakers. And indeed, in 2019, NPMS data contributed to the UK's first ever volunteer-based government habitat quality indicator called C7 Plants of the Wider Countryside. So that's a very exciting development. So far, 1,680 volunteers have submitted just short of 200,000 records. And there are about 2,900 1 kilometre squares in total, of which 1,900 are allocated. So that, by my arithmetic, that means about 1,000 are still unallocated. And this map shows the distribution of most of them. Well, actually, a fair percentage. You can see there's a fair smashing across the UK, but there are more unallocated squares in the remoter fringes, particularly just off the top of this map in northern Scotland. So you can zoom in and pan around this map online, or you can type in your postcode and it'll come up with unallocated squares near you. There's 3 different levels that you can engage with the project. There's a beginner level called Wildflower. It's intermediate, where if you know more species, or you're able to identify more species, called Indicator. And there's an expert level for recorders, where you can identify everything, or near enough everything, called Inventory. So the question is, can you help? worth taking a look at the website. There's loads of free training resources on it. And here's a complete list of all the training webinars. 15 different topics are available. So recorders, please do get involved yourself. Please promote the National Plant Monitoring Scheme to your contacts and recording groups. And members, do take a look at the website and consider getting involved. It's a really interesting and valuable initiative. Right, post-Atlas projects. So after Atlas, there's no central support available for projects. As I've said, the staff were fully preoccupied with the production of Atlas outputs. So the Science and Data Committee consulted, and they suggested that country committees come up with their own ideas. But then COVID scuppered all plans for 2020. But we did trial committee-led projects in Ireland and Scotland in 2021, and England has just announced its own project in 2022. I'm going to talk about all three a little bit in more detail on the rare plant register. In more detail for the rare plant project in Ireland than the other two. All three projects are quite similar. They all aim to search for and record rarities in some detail. So it's a complete shift away from Atlas square bashing, and everyone likes a bit of treasure hunting. So the rare plant project in Ireland, 3-year project to resurvey populations of Irish red dataless species that have not been recorded since before 2000, despite all those years of intensive Atlas recording. The key points: it uses a BSBI database query to identify target species. We're asking recorders to search 5 populations in each county each year over the next 3 and make detailed records of them. It'd be great if recorders would involve local members and groups, and that the data can be sent into the database via normal routes, such as Recorder and MapMate. There's a special recording form. Key thing is detailed good references at the centre of the population. We really like a list of associated species if possible. If you'd like to know more, check out the Rare Plant Project in Ireland website. And also, I should say, Robert Northridge is giving a talk on RPPI at next weekend's Irish Spring Conference. So the Scottish HectAd Rare Plant Project, very similar. And like it, is important to record where targets are not found. Obviously, that's a really crucial bit of information. And it is possible actually to enter negative records in MapMate, and we'd encourage people participating to do that. But because there is no Scottish red list, we're using the GB list, or nationally rare and scarce species, or the Scottish biodiversity list. And also, we're targeting particular HectAds. And the reason for that is to try and minimize the carbon footprint of the project. During the Atlas, we charged all of our advice counties recording everywhere. But we really like to try and minimize the carbon footprint. It's something we need to really think about in the BSBI for our initiatives and projects. So I trialled this project in my own advice county mid-March last year. I had a 50% success rate. Here are 3 of my refines, all of which were seen about 25 years ago. So they're all going to miss Atlas 2020, but it's still great to have those records, and nice to know they're still there. So it'd be great if Scottish Botanists would give this a go, and members can ask county recorders for target species to hunt for, and there's the website there for more information. Finally, the English project is called Lore Lost Rarities in England. It's a project developed by Jonathan Shankland and the Committee for England. And the lost is in inverted commas because we don't really know if they're lost or just haven't been recorded over the past 20 odd years. So very similar to the Irish and Scottish projects, except the rare species are any species in a rare plant register, and the lost species can also include overlooked common species that just haven't been picked up in recent surveys of those HectAds. You can see there the key features of the project. We hope the project will interest different groups from beginners to experts, and there should be something for everyone there. And Jonathan's given me his heat map of his own Vice County, Cambridgeshire, which shows the number of lost species per HectAd. The blue HectAds are those with the highest number, and red the lowest. So there are a lot of species involved. What to search for. Okay, over final 2 topics. And this is a different type of heat map. This is a BSBI Heatmaps to inform tree planting. I'm sure as you're aware, the UK government has set ambitious targets of planting 30,000 hectares a year with trees. And we're really concerned that the trees are planted in the right places and don't damage important habitats. They're also doing that to help meet net zero carbon targets. But there have already been some high profile planting on quality habitats shown in these photographs here. And the top set is tree planting near Cymru in Cumbria, where trees are planted on a species-rich slope, supporting populations of greater butterfly orchid and other notables. And the lower slide shows trees being planted on very deep peat in a bog at Greystoke, Cumbria, which supports species such as cranberry, sundews, and creeping forget-me-not. So we just don't think the current screening process for tree planting is adequate, and we have been developing a system to provide BSBI data in an accessible way to ensure that tree planting does not cause this sort of damage. The general approach has been to use BSBI occurrence records to produce a series of heat maps that clearly identify hotspots of plant diversity. This first map shows areas that are most important for priority species in yellow. Areas not quite so important are green, and areas where further survey is required are grey. And organisations that are considering planting proposals, tree planting proposals, can use this layer within their GIS systems to see if any priority species are present on the proposed planting site. And if they are, then really no tree planting should occur. Obviously, not all sites will have priority species, but may well have habitats of botanical importance. So a second sequence of maps aims to capture this for 10 broad habitats. And this map is the example of bog and heath. And to do that, we've developed a list of positive habitat indicators for each map, for each habitat, and then map them at a 1K resolution. And indicators include BSBI axiophytes, positive indicators from the Common Standard Monitoring, and ancient woodland indicators. So this slide shows the 1 kilometre squares that are most important for bog and heath species. And that exercise has been repeated for another 9 habitats. We've combined all these maps to produce an overall botanical value map at 1 kilometre resolution, which can be used to guide tree planting decisions and categorises 1 kilometre squares on a traffic light system of high, medium and low. So it's easy to interpret by decision makers. And these maps are going to be available free to use on DEFRA's Magic website, which I've already mentioned this morning. And that they should go up this summer, June. Kevin has written an article on this in more detail, and that's going to appear in the next BSBI news out next month. And okay, to finish off with, Louise Marsh, BSBI's communications officer, has asked me to show this final slide. Vice County web pages are great places to find out more about what's going on in the BSBI locally. They often contain details of local field meetings, reports, checklists, rare plant registers and other resources. And importantly, they include contact details for Vice County recorders. So just in case you missed it, we now have individual county pages for the whole of England and Wales, and nearly all of Scotland. There's only a couple of Vice Counties in Scotland without a county page. Plus, we've just added 5 new Irish county pages. So, members, please check your local county pages for local information. And recorders, if you don't already have a county page, then it'd be great to have one for every Vice County throughout Britain and Ireland. So if you're interested, speak to Louise and she can help you do that. Okay, to sum up, we've a great range of projects on offer now. So do take a look at the different websites and get involved. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Jim. That was so interesting to hear about all those projects ongoing and the various opportunities for members to get involved with, both in recording and interactively on the website as well. I'm really looking forward to making use of some of those materials myself, particularly excited by the sneak peek view of Atlas 2020. And very exciting to hear about the tree planting maps in relation to botanical hotspots, which is going to be an incredibly useful resource. So let me just take a look at the question and answer. So I have first question from Jan Davidson, who asks, will the Scottish HectAd Rare Plant Project be extended beyond 3 years?
I'm not entirely sure. I think we'll see how it goes. I think it's a good chat. It's such a good initiative. I think I would really like to see it going beyond the 3-year mark. I guess eventually we might run out of targets to look for. and as I was saying earlier, so some of the best Vice Counties have already found a lot of their target species. So there'd be no point in extending the project for them. But a lot of Viscounties have loads of target species to look for, particularly the bigger ones and slightly less well recorded ones.
So still opportunities to get involved then.
Definitely.
Excellent. I have a question now from Rose Scott. Are the heat maps also being made available to planning authorities so that the distribution of priority species can be taken into account in planning decisions?
I'm not aware that's happening, but I see no reason why it couldn't. Currently, we're focused on making sure that all those trees that are being planted are directed to the most appropriate sites and don't damage important habitats and species populations. But that does sound like a great idea. The data, the heat maps present the data in a very accessible way. So it would be ideal way to give the information to councils.
Yeah, I agree. I find heat maps incredibly interesting to work with. A very great visual resource for all sorts of applications. This was a question I was going to ask myself, actually. Paul Smith has written, will the heat maps be extended to Scotland, Wales and Ireland?
Currently, they only cover England and they don't cover Scotland. But we do hope that they'll extend to Wales, Scotland, and possibly Northern Ireland in the longer term. We're not so sure about their potential use in the Republic of Ireland, though.